allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start with an addition. We've got some of the executive board of the fire department here and then some additional people. They asked to be on the agenda for a quick presentation. We got a huge thing going on here tonight. It's gonna take us a while, so we're gonna limit you to 5 minutes. So
That's fine.
as soon as you're ready, let's have it.
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, and council members. For those that don't know me, my name is Joshua Carey. I'm the Assistant Chief of the Princeton Fire Department. It was brought to our attention of some personnel policy changes that came about, and we have some concerns about that. It would be in the handbook, page 16, section 2.05, what I'm referring to. The Princeton Fire and Rescue Department, other than Chief Lawrence, is unanimously opposed to the new policy change regarding dual employment for fire departments. To not have this policy financially makes sense for the budget. Firefighters get equivalent training at another department on their dollar. And it saves our testing and payroll expenses. Princeton Fire Department can provide a better service to our taxpayers because these members are responding to more calls and becoming more efficient at their skills. Every person has a right to work multiple jobs towards multiple retirements. By requiring these people to walk away from a retirement or pension, it opens the door for lawsuits against the city. This policy creates a potential for delayed response to a medical when minutes could be the difference between life and death. To make them choose will cause financial, emotional, and psychological strain on these individuals. And I would ask that if you must make this change, we would propose that it be effective January 1, 2024 and not be retroactive. That's the concerns from the exec board and membership.
Retroactive from where? What are you referring to?
So it sounds like from the way Ron explained it to the department was that as of January 1, anybody that is working for two departments, that's a neighboring department, will have to choose which department they're on. They're gonna have to quit one or the other.
But you said you wanted it put to January 1, 2024 and not.
I think what he's asking for is that existing,
Oh, I see what.
The way it reads
would be
now, as of
grandfathered.
January
So
1.
any new hires, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth,
Nope.
Josh. Any new hires, it would apply to.
Correct. Correct.
Got it.
Because we do have 4 members on our department who this could potentially affect. And we've got 3 of them here with us today. And not only they are upset over it, but the whole department is frustrated because we feel like they shouldn't have to be put in a position to decide which community they want to help.
Who's it for?
It's Jim Artman, Daniel Artman, Sean Osby, and Jerry Rudd, who's one of our captains.
Okay, there you read that. I was trying to remember that name. I'm sorry.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
You're asking you to be this member be grandfather.
Exactly.
The existing bulk.
Yes,
And new members would. Like to move forward.
correct.
We approved personnel manual yet, or have we not got final approval?
We have approved it, but there will be another round of changes, just double checks, which is why we didn't put the effective date immediately. We put it out for January 1, so I'm gonna tell you it won't be next meeting because we have truth and taxation. So the December 28th meeting will be the final personnel there's gonna be some changes relating to cannabis and just one last double check to make sure we have the earned, safe, and sick time correct. Make sure we didn't miss anything because there was an LMC update that came through So I want to verify that. And then Karen went through it one more time with a fine tooth comb and found a couple of things that just need to be clarified. So there'll be an opportunity for the council to discuss and amend prior to its final enactment
Okay,
or official, I guess, starting date. So
all right.
If you'd like, I have some copies there you could have for notes.
All right.
Is you want to talk to?
Do we still have a minute or two?
15 seconds.
12 seconds.
Did you want to?
Yeah, how fast is it going?
Yeah, it's
Quick, 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem. My name's Sean Osby. I joined Princeton Fire and Rescue in 2019. I also joined Baldwin Fire Department 2 years ago. Two main reasons I joined Baldwin. I've had such a good time here at Princeton. I've learned so much from all the veterans that are there. Before I joined Baldwin, I asked Ron's permission and he told me to go for it, so I did. Another reason I'm on Baldwin is to supplement my retirement. I don't have enough at my current full-time employer to be comfortable when I get older. So those are the two main reasons that I'm doing it. I am 100% for the city of Princeton. I've done 5 or 6 different PR events this year alone for Princeton Fire that I did not have to do, that I did not get paid for. I'm 100% for the city and Princeton Fire. Thank you.
And for an example, he maintains 50% call response at Princeton and still responds to 2 departments.
We have to do 30 firefighters. I'm 55% average for the year, so I feel like I have enough time to do both.
All right.
Thank you.
Take it under consideration and, said we have a recheck on this personnel on the 28th and we'll decide how we want to go forward.
All right.
I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I can offer you for today.
Nope, I appreciate the time.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, so on to number 3.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as part of our overall, budget process, we always do a check on the fee schedule. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of making sure we're checking every year now. So before you or in your packet is the draft fee schedule with changes that are being proposed by staff. I guess we'll just run through them and just hit on the ones that are proposed to be changed. The first one falls under the airport. We had talked at the last meeting about increasing the lease rates. There was a 2020 change to 18 cents a square foot, and we actually bumped it to 20 cents a square foot in 2023. So,
Jen, this is the lease of the whole lot, or is it the size of their building? There's not much.
it's the size of the building, basically.
Okay. I mean, it's not those, they're 5 foot setbacks all the way around on those, I think, but.
Yeah, they try to be. So I don't know if, the council's still interested in doing another increase or if we want to wait until 25 to do the next increase. Excuse me.
I guess I'd like to wait till 25 for that.
I'm okay with 3 room.
I wonder if we shouldn't put it on the schedule for like every other year. I mean, we're still gonna be $96,000 in the hole in the airport this year. And
We can do that.
We can't keep doing that. So we have to figure out ways to cover more of our costs there, so.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
And that's starting in 25, right?
Yeah.
27, okay.
Every other year change, sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, our costs keep going up.
I'm gonna put it, an amount of some kind of percentage or,
I think we just have to determine
Each year.
what's appropriate as far
Yeah.
as land values. And
Because we're also gonna wanna check kind of the, although it doesn't appear that a lot of airports stay on top of their
No,
costs, so
like we didn't.
but we didn't,
it might be hard to determine whether we're in market or out of market.
Yeah.
So,
do our own negligence, we don't wanna try to make it all up in one.
correct,
roll.
right.
Yeah,
I
that's not
agree.
fair either.
Right.
I mean,
What's slowly?
what, 10% would be 2 cents? Is that my math?
Yeah,
Is my
well,
math
something
right?
about, right?
I'm looking at too many numbers the last couple of
2
days.
cents or 2 and a fraction, but I mean, still for a 50 by 50 hangar, it's a $500 lease per year. So I mean, we're not talking about a lot of money either, so.
Okay, all right, we will make a note to set it on odd years that we'll be making sure we take a look at the price. Then the next, area that has a significant number of changes, and I'll let Shauna present those.
Can I ask
Oh, sorry.
One more airport question.
Yeah.
I just looked at, that looks like the price hasn't changed since 2019 and it's the tie down area.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have many people either plane down for more than 10 days?
No,
Mm-mm.
how is that even monitored?
I make a run through the city every morning, just to observe what's going on. So it's usually from my.
Well, the pilots come in and tie it down, they are aware that there is a fee then, or?
Most of them already know. There's a book that gets updated every year that gets sent to me to review, ask certain questions, is there courtesy cars or hotels or restaurants, they're tied up.
I can't imagine they object to it, but.
So most pilots, if they're going somewhere, look at that book.
That might be something we can look at too, if we're gonna compare rates, just to see what other tie down fees are.
Well, and maybe you change it to more than 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, whichever, I mean, I don't think there's very many pilots that are even flying out for 3 days. They're in and out.
It's probably about, I think that's about the max, it's 3. You don't see too much, maybe go on the weekend or something.
Be interesting to see what other ones do. I'm just saying that because we were super low on our lease rates, we were super low on what we were charging for jet fuel, you know what I mean? So this is something that we should maybe look at as well. Not a lot of money, but
Yep.
nonetheless, we need to be diligent about doing that.
Cemetery.
Cemetery, that's kind of a Bob thing, and then we need to determine what we're gonna do for overtime rates for,
So I had a conversation with Michelle and
Okay.
we're gonna be working on those.
Yeah.
Some of what's in on the weekend, on the burial, the full burials, those numbers that we have to work on to adjust. The other ones are just basically inflationary. Trying to address it so we don't get into a situation like when we were at the airport where we have to play catch up.
So the yellow is what we're still gonna be looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, actually, I just did some quick numbers here and I believe those numbers are gonna be going up.
So the
Yeah, they should.
overtime labor charge after the 3 hours, is that number goes up too?
Yes.
Okay.
you ever have anybody that stays over? I've never had to bill anybody else, but it's just curious.
No, usually when it's getting close, the guys start inching up with the tractor.
By the time you get to the cemetery, it's like, yeah, we don't wanna hang around too much longer, so that goes pretty quick.
Most want to get back to that ground ham salad.
That's right, you gotta have the dead spread. All right,
Well, they're extending rate, so I'm all for increasing that.
that's what I've heard it called.
It's like we can go to them for that bunch. I shouldn't say that, I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I don't know, the numbers are, reasonable, but I guess, I don't know. I guess you might have somebody have a problem with them, but honestly, it's one of the expenses that just happens.
When you look at the year, the dates and stuff, I mean, that we're talking about in general, we can't let stuff just lay around and ride us.
Right,
They have
yeah,
to be.
it's just- a lot of these are 10 years old here.
And our labor costs just went up a lot. So
Just
there you
the
have it.
trick that we're getting used.
On occasion, you'll get someone who's a pauper or county burial where they'll want to put them in. The reason that cost is going up is especially with the county burials that my guys, we have to send a couple people out to help transfer in and transfer out. They cover labor. They're, you know, much in there for storage, it's just basically covering labor.
Is there ever like cremains that sit out there for the winter while they're waiting for the?
No, most people will go, or they'll just do a winter burial on cremains.
All right, anybody have a problem with the numbers that are listed?
No.
Guess I'm good with them. Revisit them again next year whenever we get to this spot again.
Mhm.
And I'm sure when people are doing funerals, these numbers are probably pretty insignificant compared to the cost of a funeral. I can't imagine anybody
Yeah.
having issues with them.
But they all add up. I mean, it's
Well,
an expensive operation, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, just for, you know, gotta come close to reflecting the actual cost, which I'm sure is significant.
Not the tenants generate revenue.
Yeah.
Keep up.
Look at my clock.
So the income will come back, I mean, we'll revisit that again with a higher number.
Yeah, so this is the draft, so, once we go through everything and adjust the numbers as the council is comfortable with, then we'll do the whole ordinance thing and first reading, second reading, and they'll be ready for next year.
Okay.
And I guess, you know, all of the department heads, I assume, are pretty good at saying, this is just crazy, we're spending way too much time and effort for this fee. And you have a pretty good handle on what you need to change, so. Once it comes around again next year, there'll be input, and I'll change. Right, that's the
Mhm.
idea.
Yep. Yep, that's why we look at it.
All right, so it sounds like we're good on those.
Yep, looks like, there's a change on the campground.
That one is a slight increase. We haven't touched it in 12 years. Just looking to do a slight increase compared to a state park with the amenities that are offered. That's comparable with the water, electric, and restrooms, showers. And we're still $18,900 state parks.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay.
I think you'll probably just go by if there's not a lot of chatter over here, just keep moving.
All right. Next is Mark Park and the Splash Park. Sponsorship rates. And I believe that the sponsorship, rates for the Splash Park were discussed.
Yes, they were. What did I over here? Yes, they were talked at the park board meeting. How they were voted on for these amounts. So we did raise the nonprofits to 250, but we left the businesses at 300.
Yeah, but, last year they were doing 200, is that what it was?
200, yeah.
And just a quick comment, last year, the first year we did sponsorships, none of us had that one.
We have, but, and I'm gonna save Stacy's voice. Last year we had a really, energetic intern that really went out and marketed.
And that's what I was
Yep.
recommend, whoever had their accommodation.
Yeah,
And it worked, obviously, so we certainly want to.
Yep.
Expand it, if nothing else, so.
yeah, there was, significant effort and I think it paid dividends for the splash park.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very noticeable, so, thank you.
She did a great job. The plan is to do it again this next year. We have a pretty good spreadsheet with the ones who have done it, who have contacted and various methods to reach back out again to the community, so.
Not hearing any objections, so, firefighters, and safety trailer. We're taking the sign and speed trailer rental off. We don't really allow people to rent it. We just move around the city on our part, so there's no need to have an on-duty schedule.
For the safety trailer rental, was there ever a daily fee? I think there was a.
We have no idea when it was on there.
Yeah.
That'd be bad, rent out.
Yeah.
There's some data that gets collected, that would be bad to have.
Okay. All right, moving on. There's no changes under the licenses or special event area. Under, there's no changes under the liquor department. Under planning and zoning, there's just a, correction, related to the building code for fences. So it used to be fences over 6 feet, needed a permit, or, so the first one, so we just changed it from 6 to 7 to be consistent with the state building code. So under 7 feet, it's just a.
So essentially a zoning or land use permit. However, we have been having the building inspector go out and do final inspection, so that's why we're gonna keep it on here, and actually probably I'll move these to the building permit section at some point.
Well, it hasn't changed the fence permit, 7 feet and under. It's 98, did that go up, or is that pretty common, $50
Yeah, it's a pretty, it's,
standard?
so what'll happen eventually, probably with the ones over 7 feet, because sometimes they have to be engineered. It'll probably I'll probably move it over to the building code, and then it'll be based on valuation.
Okay.
But that's gonna happen with a lot of our building permit stuff once we start updating it to the current code. So I didn't quite get into all of that. I just wanted to make sure that what we have in here actually meets code. So the 6 feet is old language and it's 7 feet for now, but other things will eventually will change when we get the building inspector. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why there's a strike through on the retaining walls over 4 feet.
You can't have them.
Well, you can, but they have to be engineered, and so it would require a building permit and a review for code compliance.
We have some things that are under planning and zoning that technically should be actually under building permit. So, that'll be something that I'll be working on in the next few months with the new company. And then, I don't know if you probably saw this super little, we crossed out septic permits because now we contract with both the counties. So we don't actually do any septic inspections or septic permits through the city.
And one more thing on the fence, the front yards, street side, that's still a maximum of 3-foot fence.
42 inches on
The
this.
42 inches.
Check that, I'm not sure.
That's for you guys, right?
I'll probably-
So you can see what's happening in the house.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I can find that out. And on the very, bottom of that, we didn't actually have our tax abatement and TIF application on our fee schedule before. We have typically in the past required, I think it was like $2,000. In the previous years. Last year, we raised it, not on the fee schedule, but in our office to 5,000. But I felt like
it wasn't transparent enough, because when somebody does a tip application, it's pretty much never gonna be less than $10,000. So I looked at other, cities, and most cities request $12,000 to $15,000 for an escrow to pay for consulting fees. So that's why we have the $12,000 on there, and I wanted to get it on the fee schedule because it hadn't been on there before, just for transparency purposes when people are applying.
Can we, notate that it's an escrow amount?
Yep, or you add the word escrow.
Before we move on, can I ask Dylan, since is the keg deposit and tapper deposit really has not, price hasn't changed for 19 years?
Nope, they haven't. They still charge us $30 for a keg. And no, yeah, it's mind boggling. I was checking all of our stuff like, oh, well, they haven't changed our prices yet either. So,
19 years.
yeah,
Same price.
yeah.
Well, there's
The
a-
price of the liquid inside the keg has gone up, but the
Yeah.
keg deposit itself has not, yeah.
So then maybe should we change the dates, just so that we know that he's researched on
Yeah.
that, changes.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I was thinking that same thing,
No,
because
but
we're
that's.
talking about keeping things
I
current.
have another column that I hide to make it all in one where it says last
Last
update,
update, yeah.
last review.
Last review, okay, I like that, that's good.
Because if we change it, that's saying we increase
Increased
it
it.
in 2023, and I don't want to do that.
And I don't know if it's because we only do root beer, we don't do beer kegs, so maybe that's why it hasn't changed at all. So maybe they consider that a different,
Nobody does real beer.
we don't even offer it because there's no money to be made in it. Like what you'd have to charge them to like store it, you're gonna make like $20, so it's not worth.
Yeah, and people have to order ahead of time.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
On in the beer anymore.
yeah. I just sent them
I'm not
to
a beer
Omaha.
drinker, so I don't keep up on that.
I don't think it's- I think that Princeton Liquor did kegs for a long time.
And now the way everyone's got, have to have their fancy, I drink IPAs, I drink this, I drink, you don't even see kegs at home parties anymore.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that you can get enough guys to agree on a keg.
If somebody came in though and said, can you get them?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Well, we have to leave them on the schedule
Yeah,
where they're oddball.
yeah.
Mhm.
Home parties
They're
and.
gonna stay,
Exactly, yeah.
maybe just eliminate it, but it will.
Yeah.
I will tell you, it was great that we have root beer for, because we went through.
Yeah, you guys did a lot of them.
Yeah, how many did we do?
I think it was 3,
Yeah,
and I feel like they could have done more.
so we did the field parties. We did root beer floats at the fair last year.
Yeah, I figured yours was probably,
Parties, guys.
it was what, 125 for a
Yeah.
keg, I think it is, so.
Yeah, we did a lot of root beer floats.
Yeah, I rented one for every graduation party for my
Yeah,
sons.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is for mine.
Okay, all right. Anything else on? No. All right, police department. Good. All right. Public Works. Just updating numbers. We're gonna double check the labor. Bob and I will double check the labor amounts, just like we are under the cemetery, but
Make sure that these are high enough.
yep.
And they don't look at their school year.
A lot of the numbers for the equipment are basically reaching out to contractors as to what they charge.
Mhm.
So we just not going above and just what the going rate is in the private sector.
Explain blacktop at $7. What does that mean?
So, if someone wanted to purchase some blacktop for their yard while we're out patching, we go a square yard, 2 inches thick.
Okay.
I can add that in there.
That's the last of our changes.
Do you want more than a consensus to move forward? Do you need a motion to proceed or are you good?
well, since it's a study session,
Or we can't do
you
anything.
can't do it. As long as I'm seeing nods and I'm not hearing any objections, I think we'll move forward and present an ordinance for first reading next week.
Okay.
So. Right. Next is the capital improvement program. I just updated it. I put some notes in, and then last night, as I was finishing up plugging everybody's numbers in, which I'm gonna have to double and triple check. There's one change, and that is I forgot to delete the.
Desk.
Oh, did I forget that one too? Oh, okay, so, sorry. That has to go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the tough book that's in Public Works admin. We are not getting a tough book. It's just gonna be a straight laptop. So that got put in the general supplies budget in Public Works admin, and it'll need to be taken out of their capital budget. But other than that, I think I captured the notes from the last meeting. There is a note that we are carrying forward a chunk of the phone system and also the website upgrade under tech. And then there was a new addition to wastewater that is running internet lines. Midco is going to be hopefully next year. We haven't gotten firm confirmation yet, but they're running fiber lines down County Road 2, and we want to pull those up to the wastewater treatment plant to provide more consistent and stable internet service. And then we did remove the security fence on 24 and 25 at the public safety building, because we're gonna reuse the cemetery fence. I think that's fine anyway. As I look at Bob. Todd is, okay.
Sorry.
That's not paying.
Just say yes, I agree.
No, I'm looking at numbers.
Just say yes, I agree.
That's
I
right.
absolutely agree. Thank you very much.
I told you, Brian.
Yeah.
Good to have the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll do. I mean, it's a little crappy looking, but we'll paint it. We'll paint blue. Blue fence.
We can get some blue slats to put in it.
Ooh. Which are
Thanks.
That'd be really pretty.
Blue looks. A little red in there every once in a while.
How about you put a blue one and then a red one and then a blue one and then a red one?
Now we're just going Christmas. Yeah, absolutely.
That
Or
sounds,
white. Give you red.
Red, white, and blue. How many hours do you think that would take?
America.
I don't know, PUC did it and it sounded like it was a very tedious project.
Yeah, the fence will be just perfect. So I think 5 feet. Yeah, so we should be able to do the whole area, which will be nice and call it good.
Okay. Were there any other thoughts on the CIP? I've seen it like a bazillion times and yes, there are some things in there that are related to the general fund, but it's just my way of not losing things in translation.
all right.
So now move on to the budget. Okay. Great, we ready for the budget?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, I guess I don't necessarily want to go through every page, but if people saw something and they have questions,
Every page of it.
no, she told me she only had a few extra questions, so, I sent an email out along with the agenda last night. In September, when we approved the preliminary budget, we had a 16.33% levy increase that was proposed. I'm happy to say with the negotiations with the unions, the fact that I planned for a 10% health insurance increase, which didn't come through, so we're holding contributions the same from 23 to 24. And the reduced sick bank payout from 350,000 to roughly 180,000, which is paying out those banks that have 200 hours or greater. And the fact that the auditors are happy that we're actually putting insurance in the departments as opposed to putting it in the unallocated area. And I also made looked at some of the revenue, the historic revenue line items, and bumped conservatively revenues up just a smidge in some areas. Managed to get the levy increase down to 3.19% with all those deductions and minor adjustments. So a couple things that will impact the final number. Chief Frederick had sent out after, I forget what meeting it was, a memo on the officer retention program. So we need some direction on that.
Isn't that using funds from?
Correct, but it's not actually, I did not plug that amount into the budget number.
Oh,
So-
I see. Well, because you have it in there as revenue, but you don't have the expenses.
Correct, I don't have it in payroll. I don't have that dollar amount that, remind me, Todd, is it 18,000 for next year?
18,000 and 18,500.
Yeah, okay,
So the 18,000 is included in revenue, but.
But it's not-
Any expense.
correct. I did not assume that was acceptable. So I just need to know if that needs to go back in. And then the other, item that needs to be added in, the same in the police department, is about $9,000 for, assuming that Officer Kuiper does retire next year. The new LALS contract, which has not been approved yet, has, 1 8-hour block of time for every year of service, which is, for her, will be 28 years. So it equates to just under $9,000. So those are the two things that will need to be added back in. The fire budget does factor in the incentivized pay program, but we didn't officially approve it. I calculated payroll based on that. There was also a proposal.
Answering a bunch of my questions.
There was a suggestion to increase the wine and spirits grant line item from 20,000 to 25,000. There was some discussion about that at the last meeting. And then the last item was moving Patty Warren, right? To full-time from part-time. We didn't officially. We mentioned it, but there was no formal direction from the council. So I think with that, if there are other questions, I think between Officer Kuiper's retirement and the officer pay, that's roughly $37,000. We're not looking at a significant percentage change. You know, we might be at 3 1/4. I believe we also, so anyway, so if there are any other changes, we need to, if there was something that anybody else saw.
That's a 2-year program, the officer retention, so it would be 18 1 year, 18.5 the next year.
That is the proposal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just, so you know, Officer Kuiper hasn't,
Officially,
she's met and said that we're pushing her out the door. she loves her admin so much that she may stick around as, you know, for UTs to us, so I know,
I might throw up a little bit.
I know.
We talked about Karen, the secretary,
Must be.
Yeah.
secretary.
Sure. So, yeah, we'll see. We're having discussions, so.
Well, it should be noted that we have under the PD wage budget, and if, in fact, Officer Kuiper doesn't leave, then we might have a budget issue because the budget has been set so that there's an overlap, but that it only factors in that she's gonna be here till like the first part of June. So if she stays the whole year, then I've got a little bit of payroll issue.
Well, wouldn't,
Because you've got a experience versus.
Versus, yep,
Yeah,
versus
the
a,
pay changes obviously.
had the budget just a little bit in that area, just in case. Like, I'd rather
I mean,
have,
yeah, I'm still. I still think she will, I think what she's having issues with right now is trying to work with Para to find that exact perfect date. That's a big piece to it right now, so. And then I'll be completely honest with you, the SRO contract is huge for her right now.
what do you mean?
Well, she's out of the school right now, and that's where she wants to be. So
Until that's.
we need to resolve that. If it doesn't resolve, she'll go quickly.
so I can, yes, I believe that between the 3.19 and the 16.33, there's enough wiggle room to factor in a full year for Officer Kuiper. I can add that into the payroll budget.
I'd rather do that than go over and then be like, uh-oh.
Yep.
You know,
You're probably a little more confident there. Yeah.
she's been there 28 years?
Yeah, it will be 28 next year.
28 as of,
As of June, it was 27, and as of June of this year, based on the information Karen had given me, it was 27 years, 7 months, so another June would be 28 and 7 months roughly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make that adjustment, so.
Don't we generally factor in a little contingency in the overall budget for unknowns? I mean,
I'm trying not to put a lot of, I think we're
there's always something that can happen we don't know about. Gonna be a-
correct.
And sometimes there's things that don't happen too, so.
Yeah. Well, for example, where the contingency would happen is in the unallocated other wages, regular wages, that's where we've put the sick time buyout at 180,000. There are several employees who have significant sick banks who may decide to spread that buyout over 2 or 3 years, in which case then we wouldn't use all of that 180,000 because I made a worst case assumption that they would buy out. There's a little wiggle room in there. But we try not to put a lot of slop in the budget if we can.
Well, I'm not speaking specifically to an employee in general. I mean, they could have any kind of a major
Oh, yeah,
sewer funk, whatever. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. Anybody have this.
Just like 2 years ago.
yeah.
We have to have
Yeah.
gotta have a little bit of flexibility for stuff like that.
Apparently the state of Minnesota has the budget like $9 billion. Just saying.
just saying.
Okay, so we'll add the rest of Officer Kuiper's wages for the full year, which is another, I think we pegged it at 1,000 hours, so it'll be another 1,080 hours in there. With, wages, para, FICA, health insurance.
Plus the additional 9, I don't know.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, so, we'll factor that in as well.
I have a question on the retention pieces, so we're getting whatever from the state of Minnesota, right, that's paying for these retention pieces?
We hope so.
We hope supposedly. So what happens, let's assume that it does work out that way. What happens in year 3? Are we kind of saying that that's gonna continue?
No,
No, it
No,
it was a 2-year plan, and there's some, talking with Michelle, actually talking with Jenny, we're gonna put some stipulations, obviously within that receiving piece, just that, you know, it is retention, right? So we're not gonna offer money and then the next day they, hey, guess what? We're going somewhere. So we'll do a couple of things like that, but,
That's on our agenda for one hand.
Okay, I was saying.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess it's,
Yeah.
with that, it's fire department too, so.
correct. And actually, Ron recommended at the last meeting or the meeting before that his 20,000 go toward offsetting the new wage pay plan that we're suggesting for the fire department, which is a base pay, and then depending upon how many years you're on, you get additional pay for years of longevity plus certification. That's a way to encourage the firefighters to continue to advance their skill levels and
Don't just be a body. Don't be a soup bone.
yeah. So so we calculated everybody's where they would be on the pay scale, and then I took an average of the fire department's the fire department per hour rates, and then calculated a reasonable number of calls, knowing we've lost Blue Hill. I used an average wage of $14 an hour, which is what the average is. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with that, but again, we can't predict call loads. So that's always a wild card. We just never know.
Yeah, and the fire department's like, that's that list we got. Right, the list we got last meeting or the meeting before.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
Michelle, when will the numbers go in this general?
As soon as we kind of narrow down all this stuff. So that's the general revenue. That's the revenue outside of all the departmental numbers. So property taxes, the LGA, those types of things, transfer from the park dedication fund to cover the park stuff, so.
So let me understand something here, the officer retention, I'm not trying to throw cold water in, don't get me wrong here, that's coming, the funding from that, I mean, specific to public safety, I would say, coming from possibly an outside source.
It's coming from the 2023 legislative session. They created a public safety bill. And as Todd has mentioned, so one of the reasons we're not gonna approve the budget next week is because we still haven't gotten the letter as to what exactly we can spend the dollars on. Todd's done his best attempt at interpreting the statute. So in the CIP budget, you would note that there's a bunch of notations in there about public safety dollars versus CIP. And so if in fact the money doesn't get distributed, that's gonna change the whole police department budget, and it's gonna affect the fire department budget a little bit.
yeah, cause we're obviously the 3 issues, you know, we're hoping for public safety money, but there's the records management piece, the radio upgrade piece, and then obviously the canine shelter piece that we had to deal with. So those are 3 things that if this goes away, which it's not going to, it's just, you know, everybody's waiting to actually read what the rules are, so to speak, so.
And we're also waiting to actually see the distribution hit the bank accounts.
Well, it still, I mean, I check every day. It still shows City of Princeton with the amount's not changed.
the rumbling today was that the letters were going out to the first part of the alphabet tomorrow, so, and they said it'd be around that first to second week of December, so. I think they don't want us. The rumor is they don't want us to spend the money in 23, but it's for 23 until 24, so they're delaying us as much as possible, and I don't know why, but that's the rumbling right now.
It's the legislature. We can't figure out what they're doing.
No, that's all right.
No,
But all right.
that was
They make their numbers jive the way they want them
Yeah.
to.
Okay.
Do we need, and I'm not advocating for doing that this year because there's enough moving parts, but do we need to look at the capital improvement plan level that we have? We have the same number every year. And I'm looking at that and it's like, there's no way that that's enough money.
No, it just goes into, well, we have significant investments out there. And yes, I think it's appropriate to look at the CIP dollar amount for 25's budget. I agree with you. It's one moving part that.
I mean, you made this work with that number in there.
Yep.
But, for transparency and not having slop in a budget.
Yeah.
I mean, that number should be what it is. I mean, over an average, you're trying to average it over.
Well, yeah, what happens is that the dollars that we levy under the CIP basically go into the capital reserves, and then we basically pull from the capital reserves to pay for. And, one of the things we're looking at with, is how much do we need to have in long-term investments? Can we make our investments a little more liquid so that we're earning money on our money, but it's still available to us when we need it? So we're doing some work with another financial person who does a lot of this, and we're working on setting up kind of a long-range forecasting of revenues and expenses, which I think will be very telling in terms of kind of what our cash flow looks like on a regular basis. And once we get that put together, we'll share that with the council, but we're still doing a lot of research.
Good. Anything else on this part of
I have a couple of
the program? Go for it.
Under general government administration.
Yep.
I think that the liquor licenses versus liquor on sale licenses for 2023, I think that revenue is in the wrong column.
Yes, actually, what we need to do is, I think we combine both of them and.
All the liquors together now.
Yep, all liquors together. So I actually need to move it and deactivate the on sale license one.
My other question on your refuse haulers license, I've asked this about times, but 2021, we brought in $7,600. 2022, we brought in $9,600. 2023, why, so far we've brought in $1,000. Like, why, who's not paying their refuse hauler licenses? Who's not paying?
They all do. I think we lost a company or something.
This is way more than
And we
a
just,
company.
well, we just increased.
Something is going on.
I'll look at the numbers.
yeah, that's.
Yeah, I need to look at the 22 numbers. I'm not sure why that's. Well, we can't make any adjustments to 22 because the audit's
I
done.
realize that, but to only budget for $1,250 2 years in a row, and we usually bring in 7,600 to 9,600, is just weird to me.
Got
I
it.
just feel like something's.
I don't know how we would do that because we only have 5 or 6.
It's in the license, 500, right?
No, it used to be 100. It's now 250.
Yeah,
Well, something weird is going on.
so
Maybe it's 12,000.
I'll have Lynn pull the detail register for 21 and 22 and see what ended up in there. And why that is that way.
And I think, Shawnee, you said there is a company right now that's running around and has not paid a license.
Yes, I sent them a letter. And I've also received notice that they have somebody going, oh, no, it's a different company. We have another company that has somebody going door to door without a solicitor's permit.
So if somebody comes to your door, ask them if they've got the permit.
Can I see your permit?
We actually get a number of calls for that, which is good. We get calls all the time.
Mhm.
So the greatest thing is we can show up there and ask for the permit, if not, then we get escorted out.
That's all I do.
Yep,
We get awful people, you know?
no, I don't think, I think I need to look into it.
Mhm.
I need to pull the detailed general ledger and see what got stuck in that line item from 21 and 22 is what I need to look at. So,
Next one's under finance. This is just really minimal, but it's that $1,500 from the supplies to come out. So it needs to come out of the CapEx thing and out of the finance budget. Out of the $4,500 for.
it was 6,000 previously. So I did take it out.
Oh,
Yep. Yep. The previous one, it was 6,000 and it was still in the capital. And now I took it out of, I haven't taken it out of capital, but I did take it out of general supplies. And I need to take it out of the note, which is on page 2.
okay.
That's where I need to take it out.
Something was.
Yep. No, I took it out.
The next one's the library.
Yes. Library. I gotta get there. Okay, I'm there.
We still have no money in general supplies for toilet paper and those
Oh.
kinds of things.
Sorry. That's that. Thank you.
And then I don't know if you ever figured out what this weird $119,000
Yep, I know
is.
exactly what that is. It's, and unfortunately I can't fix it. So that comes from the insurance. It was a, bumble finger because the unallocated budget number, department number is 4930. And the library budget number is 4093. So it actually should have been like $2,000, 2,900, somewhere in there. And yeah,
So it got messed out of some other department.
no, it was supposed to be an unallocated part of it, so.
All right. Public safety fire, my question was just. So far, 2023 for fire calls, we're already at 90,000. We're dropping that proposed down to 72,000. Plus, we're also proposing a pay increase, and I don't understand how we can go down that much when we're going to do pay increases.
So,
Well, our fire calls seem to be staying the same the last 3 years. Yeah. I'm worried about that.
yeah,
Not gonna lie.
but there's, so I could go through the math with you and I don't have it handy with me, but we're losing Blue Hill. So I took, and Ron and I sat and did this analysis. We looked at the average call load for Blue Hill. We calculated a rough, we looked at the types of calls in Blue Hill. We looked at the number of hours and used how many officers or people to be at that call. And basically we did the math like 2 different ways and we kind of came up with the same number. And that's the number we landed on minus Blue Hill.
Okay.
So.
I suppose if our revenue goes down, that should go down too.
Yep.
Is there a chance you can take that 32,994 out of stipends and move it back up to the proper under training?
Yes, I can do that. Yep. I can do that. That's an easy fix.
I figured it was.
Yep. Lynn can do that in the budget section.
So under machinery and equipment, We used to have a different dollar amount there. It's now 115,000. Do you know what was deleted over there?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm just curious because it was,
Did I put anything in? No.
no, there's no notes.
Yeah, let's see, so.
I like notes on the bottom.
I know it.
Because it was 126,600.
Okay,
And now it says 115. I'm not sure what got deleted.
oh, I know what it is. There is, the difference is, so 126,600 is the total, and of that, 5,300 is annual truck preventive maintenance, which actually comes out of the repair budget and the operating. $1,200 in annual pump testing, which also comes out of the operating, and 2,100, which is the annual ladder testing, which also comes out of the operating.
Should have.
Yep. So,
Under public safety emergency management,
yes.
machinery and equipment, it's 45, it was 25,000.
Correct. As I was, again, checking my notes, that is the, it's the warning siren purchase of 35,000. And cost. Ron is going to be working on, a propagation study. We think we need a siren moved and a siren added.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, from the study from Wednesday or prior to that?
Well, we know we have some issues. The industrial park has very little coverage whatsoever.
Mhm.
We did they did go out yesterday and listen for sirens. Sirens could not be heard at the mobile home park in Sherburne County,
Mm.
even with Sherburne County sirens going on. And since we cover that, looking into options and ideas how to get sirens down there.
Mhm.
And then we had an officer or somebody, at the distillery yesterday that couldn't hear it. Our biggest problem is the siren that's located at McDonald's has to travel across 169. And that traffic deadens that siren. Traffic noise and congestion.
Mhm.
So we're talking right now, and we'll do a propagation study with our siren people. We might have to put one over by the distillery in that industrial park to cover that area,
Mhm.
which would maybe give us the option to move the one at McDonald's a little farther east. That may cover the golf course and the mobile home park as well.
Mm.
But we won't know until the study's done. And from my understanding, there won't be a charge from the company that we're working with to do that propagation study, because they obviously want it in the best spots too, so.
Mhm.
Frontline Plus is our company that we work with. They do our maintenance on all the sirens and stuff, so. I wasn't here yesterday, but Bob and Todd, their crew were able to go out. And sounds like they did a really good job marking stuff down and listening where we needed to be, so.
Nice.
It makes sense to get one over by that mobile home park, yeah.
Yeah, and,
And
yeah. It would be.
I agree.
Well, they, just to clarify, they do have one. It's just a little old.
A little old, not set off by the county like the rest of them are. It's gotta be set off by some individual in the park who has the key to the padlock to get in the building to put
The
it.
combination
Yeah,
of
that's
four
what-
different,
So,
big crank.
Yeah. Not the public safety we're looking for, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think we better do a better job of covering that since that is our area. And I am working with, I'll talk to Kyle from Sherburne County, their emergency manager, and see if we can maybe work together on it.
Okay, thank you. Next in Public Works Streets, I just want to bring that up because Michelle and I had a conversation about the reduction under streets regular hours. And she explained that some of those hours are getting moved to the splash park for Tim Jensen. But there's no buffer in here at all for them cashing out some comp time banks at the end of
Yep,
each year, because they can only roll over so many hours. So she's,
yep, so I'm gonna,
Has to adjust.
yep, so we'll make some adjustments. So right now, all of Superintendent Jensen's hours are all in streets, so we need to make some manual adjustments. So year-to-date hours will actually drop, if we were to do the math today, by about 46,000 just on regular hours. And so I'll look at the comp time banks and kind of see where people are at and then put in a buffer number under regular hours. So in comp time, doesn't go in as anything. It just is a system that tracks the number of hours and it comes out as regular pay when they take it, and it's when they use it. So I did confirm that with the accountant. So we'll put a buffer number in there just to make sure we have enough.
okay, and then under Parks and Rec Splash Park,
Yeah, gotta get there.
you already explained to me why there's no Splash Park regular hours, because that will get journal entry in there.
Correct.
But I have a question about under the, capital improvements, the $65,000 for this year that we didn't use will be rolled over to next year.
Yep.
But should that show up on here or on our CIP sheet? If we're gonna move it over?
Yeah.
The Splash Park. I don't know
Yeah,
what
so
it-
there's,
I'm on page 57 in here. I'm just not seeing.
so the splash park, we have 40,000.
Page 38, which line down here?
Oh, yep, you know what I
Yeah,
did?
that's 65, I think,
Yep.
that's to get moved over to show actual expenses for 24.
Yeah, and actually I didn't delete it out of here, but I actually, so we're gonna get there, but if you go to the park improvement section, that's actually where I have all of the park CIPs. So I actually have to pull the 90,000
Off of here.
yeah.
and
So
put it in
that
here.
90,000 includes all of the things that we had wanted to do this year but didn't.
Okay,
So,
you gotta pull that off and the 65,000 and put that on this park improvement list?
it's actually that 90, so we have 40 in splash park shades, 35,000 in pump and pipe repairs, and 15,000 in the trash receptacles. That's right, Bob, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that should total 90,000, I think. So yeah, so we won't have spent any money in 23 and the proposed, and I'll check with Abdo if it should actually be in here.
Okay.
So that 90,000 will may stay in here, but I'll double check with Julie.
Okay,
But that's the total based on, all of the requests that came through.
okay.
So.
My next one is under Public Works compost site, and this is just out of curiosity. Do we have any idea how often the compost site money is getting deposited? Because the current amount hasn't changed for months.
Every 2 weeks. I mean, I turn it into City Hall every 2 weeks.
Well, it's not getting logged on here or put in here because it hasn't changed for months.
Okay. I'll have to check with Karen.
Going to the current on the compost site, the top line.
Yeah, It stayed $2,085 for months now.
Okay. I'll check with Karen. I can't answer that. I mean, Karen does deposits at least weekly.
Well, it's weird, it's not.
I know, that's why I'm wondering.
Everything else is changing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe it ended up somewhere else. I don't know. But I'll check.
Okay.
Making a note.
Now I had a question when I found it. So. My next question is on special revenue park improvements.
Oh, okay, we're way back.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Okay. So the bottom is really weird to me because it shows we're bringing in adopted 2023 and 2024. Should those not be in parentheses? Because under the
Yes.
bottom,
Yep, yep,
it's adding it as an expense.
yep, you are correct. I will fix that. Those are revenues.
So the expense should be 153.5 and then the net department should be 76,500, I believe.
You're probably correct.
And it's the same in the special revenue cemetery perpetual care.
Yep,
We need parentheses up there, so it doesn't look like,
correct.
yeah.
Thank you for catching that.
Same with the special revenue development loan fund.
Oh, and I need to do the same in airport.
Yeah. You sure do.
There we go. Oh, that might change things a little bit. See,
It's also in under the wastewater treatment plan.
and probably in liquor.
Liquor store.
But the math is working at the end,
So right now,
because if you subtract 505.1 million from 5.6 million, we get the 514,000, so at least that part of the math is working.
And then I'm to the wastewater plant.
Okay,
I asked last time because current sewer availability fees, which is where the SAC charges go. It just seems like a really low number for the Glen Meadowcraft project that came.
oh, I didn't look into that.
I'm just
Sorry, yeah,
curious if they pay that, or if not, when are they gonna pay it?
I will look into that. I forgot that part. I apologize.
And then I saw we have, in the CIP, some, I think it was the CIP, I saw lab equipment.
Yes.
Okay. But would we, for 2024, wanna put any revenue in here for other departments, or do we wanna wait a year for that? If you're gonna do lab
I was at the
testing?
wastewater conference last week and the highly suggestion is to take care of our plant before we offer it to anybody.
Yeah,
Which she said, take it slow, so it could be a year or two maybe, but she said
That
at
makes
least a year.
yeah,
Just do one test at a time.
Okay.
And then gradually goes.
yeah, that makes sense. So under sewer testing and monitoring, we have 35,000 in here for 2023 and 2024, and if we're gonna do the testing ourselves, wouldn't that cost go down? Like it probably won't cost you $35,000
No,
for
it
lab
won't.
testing if you're gonna do it in-house.
If we do it in-house, yeah, but I think why we put it in there in case we don't.
Well, I think the issue is that, the tests that we can do, we can start out with aren't the super expensive ones. They're gonna be less expensive if I remember.
Less expensive, so we don't have to buy any equipment. We're gonna, till we get our paperwork and that figured out.
And
So we'll
so,
just contract that out.
yeah, I don't know how much we want, and because we're starting slow, and Chris and I talked at length, and we wanna we're putting together, he's putting together a plan to come to the council to kind of talk to you about how that whole conversion to the certified lab is gonna work and kind of what we think our timeline is gonna be. So in the interim, we felt like we should, I mean, we could shave maybe a couple thousand off of it. So,
If it's just a couple, it's not,
Yeah.
probably not worth messing with,
Yeah.
but it just kind of didn't seem like it was.
but maybe between now and when we adopt the final budget, we can take a look at what it costs to do those less expensive ones and figure out if there is a initial savings.
And we haven't got a permit yet, so we don't know if they're gonna add any expensive ones.
Yeah, that's the other problem.
Probably pretty safe to keep it in there until we get that.
Well, up and running.
And then I circled maintenance and repairs for 60,000 with a question mark, but I don't remember why. Did that go up from the last set of?
Nope, it's the same. So there's two line items, maintenance and repairs, and then there's maintenance repairs, WWTP. So
Yeah.
there's 40,000 for the system. And as I understand it, as it's been explained to me, and then 60,000 for stuff at the plant. And if for some reason the system needs more care for whatever reason, we can play with those numbers, basically. So essentially, between the system and the plant, we have roughly $100,000 to fix things. Which this year,
I don't know.
which this year, it looks like they've done a pretty good job of keeping costs down.
Supplies, chemical supplies.
Yeah, we did shave the chemical supplies down by 10 grand. As we talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah, in that department. It's something. Oh, it's because of the $1 million.
Yep. Yep,
And increasing his depreciation.
correct.
Liquor store.
Fix the numbers.
Yeah, I'm just still waiting for the tobacco and the cigarettes to get combined.
Yeah.
Okay, so, just make sure that these are shown up as revenue.
Yep.
With the print. Then I noticed that, the, actual expenses for liquor and beer changed by $300,000. So it makes the bottom line look a little better. I'm a little happier about that. So there must have been some errors because it showed differently. And I think that might be it for me. Yeah, because it showed that this year we were gonna, net department 978, now it shows 678, so I'm like, where'd that
Yeah.
$1,000 go, but I found it.
Yeah.
Okay. All
All right. Anybody else have anything they saw?
No, that was pretty extensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my life for many years.
Oh, yeah. If you look at the long enough, then my mind goes, no.
I'm massaging all the work.
Right?
Well, I'm taking tomorrow off, so.
All right, that brings us to the officer retention.
Yep, we just need direction on the items, the officer retention proposal. It sounds like you're okay with the incentivized pay program for the firefighters, and then need direction on the wine and spirits grant and the Patty Warren full-time status thing. Which the budget does, and the liquor store does reflect that, those numbers. Well,
I don't think anybody has a problem with the retention for public safety. That was one question, correct?
Well, I mean, I talked to Todd and Ryan a little bit about it, a week ago.
couple weeks ago, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just, and I'll just share my thoughts with you guys too. And I asked Todd about why are we calling it a retention bonus? Because, according to the recent news and studies have proven that a retention bonus hasn't worked for other departments. And we don't have a turnover problem. That our police department really likes working for Todd and Ryan. I mean, they really do. I mean, we've had a couple officers leave. One was for a, potential, advancement, that kind of thing. But, studies show that people don't leave their job for the money. They leave their job for their boss or a toxic environment. That's really why people leave. And they do an amazing job of keeping people there. But if we need to call it a retention bonus because of what the dollars say, what we can spend it, then we need to call it that, but we really don't have a retention problem. But anyways, a couple other points. I think we need to put stipulations on it, which I brought up to Todd, like, why would we give an officer that is saying she's gonna retire next year? Why would we give her a retention bonus if she's already saying she's probably not gonna stay? So the whole purpose of it is to retain people, right? So my thought was that we put a stipulation in there, like we can't not give it to her because she's, what if she doesn't leave? So we can't really hold it hostage until she decides, but what we should do is put a stipulation in there that any retention bonus needs to be paid back if they leave within a certain amount of time.
Yeah, and Jenny's right, and, we obviously want to reward the piece of who's staying, obviously, and the retention word was just because that's what's blasted all over the alleged money, right? I think we were looking at doing the end of the year, so when we first started doing this, we remember this was like back in the middle of the year, so we were thinking end of 23. They get awarded for 23, end of 24, they get awarded for 24, we're done. So that was where this came from in our head. But I agree with Councilmember Carroll in that we want to reward them for staying. So it's not like we want to give it to them and say, hey, we hope you're here by the end of the year. We want to wait till the end of the year and say, thank you for being here for the year.
You're basically saying it's a longevity.
It should be called a longevity.
Yeah, totally. And I promise you, I will change it. The minute that I feel good about the wordage, just because we're assuming based off of our, let's just call it what it is, the COVID money, right? That this will be audited. So we're trying to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, and making sure that we're doing the proper thing with the state money.
Right.
And so do you suspect that calling it a longevity bonus is gonna run afoul of the intent?
I don't know. I mean, like Michelle said earlier, I had a region meeting today that was Zoomed, and our region rep and then our chiefs association, they're like, this is what it's meant for me, this is what we're told, this is what we're told, but again, I want to see it in writing and just know that we're feeling good.
Right, because like what I told Todd and Ryan is if somebody is thinking about leaving or wants to leave, they're not gonna stay because, oh, here's $1,000. Like,
No.
people aren't gonna stay for $1,000. They're just not going to.
Officer Kuiper laughed, like, no, like, she says, it's exciting for me, but this doesn't hold her up right now, right? Just, this is just a way that, you look at the hot topic down in Minneapolis right now, they denied that whole piece, but the problem is that what people don't realize in the Minneapolis situation, the money that they were planning on using for that piece was that. And now it was denied, and so there's a lot of argument down there right now on what is the true heart of the bill, you know? Obviously, you know, Ron is, you know, involved with this, but, you know, when this whole thing started, it was a law enforcement bill. And then it changed to a public safety bill to try to incorporate some other department type of bill.
Hey, you could be like Ely, heard on the news that they're giving everybody a canoe. Serious.
Do we have any?
Everybody cool.
All their officers, that's their longevity, that's their
Yeah,
retention, that's their, everybody a canoe and
There is some
paddles and
super crafty stuff that's going on
And,
right now.
canoe paddles, life jackets.
I like your plan better.
I don't know what else is in there.
Maple Grove is offering.
They say dog sled, there's a whole.
Maple Grove is offering a food program that basically will pay for all the officers' lunches and dinners through all the local businesses in Maple Grove.
Wow.
But now, of course, that the opposition on this is that a gratuity? There's a huge fight right now, so there's a lot of.
Well, we're just gonna also have to be careful too, because it could open up a little bit with all the other city employees.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if the state with the
Oh, I know.
$80 million surplus that we have or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I hope that money is given back to our beloved people in the state, but I also hope that there's a certain, you know, a public safety money, but, public works or waste. I mean, there's, you know, we need to reward our
Liquor
employees.
store, public
Yeah,
works, I mean,
absolutely.
we have long-term employees there too. And we do have, we do have the incentive that when they leave,
Yeah,
they get 1 day of pay for every year of service. So that's a longevity retention bonus that they already get with the city, but, I don't know, I just worry a little bit about,
yeah.
Well, there's more internal
We
programs.
need to lobby at the Capitol for other
But
departments.
it's not, and they need it. Sorry.
You know, you look at the,
I'm just saying, there's gonna be a little bit of.
And the only other thing that I was thinking as we're talking here is, I totally agree, you have to have conditions on this,
Yeah.
on the payout.
Mhm.
But retirement, that person's not moving on to another job, they're retiring.
Mhm.
And should there be a little distinction there?
That's.
Oh, but she is. Like she said,
Well, but
she's still gonna work, just not in law enforcement is what she told me.
she is retiring from that.
From law enforcement.
weighing her options right now with some little things.
I understand, Jack, but it's a retention bonus to retain, you know what I mean?
All that said,
If she's at 28 years.
28 years is like you're pushing your luck.
Yeah.
In order to maximize the state money, we have to do it that, you know, it's not an option to use it in other ways as easily, so.
I would,
My thoughts. and
Yeah,
concerns
I would-
about it.
Not just a new idea.
okay, well, so, so if there's no objection, I think 2 things. One, I'll put the money in the budget so that it's there. And then 2, before we approve the budget, Todd will put together kind of that whole program parameters so that the council can see that as part of the final budget approval.
And then the other question was liquor store, the part-time employee and full-time
Yeah,
employee. I
Yes,
think you have to do it.
I think. so.
Patty's amazing.
Yeah, she's been there for 20 years now, and I was thinking, like, if something, God forbid, ever happens to me for like, I get COVID for 2 weeks, like, there's no one there that knows how to pull time cards or do that stuff, so this gives me an extra 2 days with her to show her all of that backup stuff, because I know the auditors want backup for everybody and everything, so.
More than one hand.
Yeah, you know, so it gives me a chance to actually sit in the office with her at least 1 day a week, if not 2, to actually, like, we're sitting in here all day today, and you're gonna do it while I sit here to
Yeah.
sit with you.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So has she not wanted to be full-time?
Oh, she's wanted
A
for
long time.
15 years, but Nancy hated her. Like,
There's a good relationship going.
like, legit, wouldn't say hi, bye to her, like, you should ask Patty some stories.
Oh,
from
Patty.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Patty's fantastic.
Yeah, so Nancy told me she brought it up every year to you guys to try to get her approved for full time. And has it ever been brought up?
No.
Yeah.
I told her, this is only new to me.
Yeah, she told
We
Pat
have-
every single year that she brought it up.
Well, do we have, I we had a thought, somebody,
Yeah, we've been here.
So,
but it maybe never got to here.
Yeah.
Got
Yes.
finance director.
That could be,
yeah,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, it was stopped before it hit us
Yeah.
so,
somewhere.
yeah, I mean, so Dylan brought it to me and I said, well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say no. I mean, that's really this is
You
a
guys.
policy decision for you guys to make based on the budget. And then we would, is it Shannon?
Shannon, yep.
Wants to move her
I'm
to,
gonna, yeah, I'd like to, I haven't discussed it with Shannon yet, obviously, just cause in
Yeah.
case it gets no, but I would make her take the lead from that Patty's and make Shannon a night lead.
Okay.
So that way we have somebody in actual, on paper, in charge at night.
So what would Patty's title change to anything, or she would just
Just
be full-time?
full-time. Yeah.
Full-time?
Yep.
yeah, it's not an assistant.
Yeah, I don't feel we need a full-time assistant like we had before. I think just cross-training her is enough for us. So.
Yeah.
And Lori has no desire. She plans to retire in the next 2-3 years.
Okay.
So
I was
I
gonna
thought,
ask about Lori.
yeah, she's not mad. She's not upset. She doesn't want full-time, so I made sure.
She's just
that-
happier than heck now that you're there.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
No, I think it's great. I think it's a good idea, and we are already saving some money by not having an assistant
Yeah.
manager. So if she just wants the hours, then I'm all for it.
And then the only other thing was, that, I would like direction on, again, I bumped the Wines grant line item up 5,000.
I'm fine with it.
I think, yes, if we're making $500,000 a year, I think we can afford to give a little bit back.
All right, well, I just,
My number would be much higher.
yeah, it was a little presumptuous of me, but I thought I'd throw it out there, so.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'm
for
glad you did. We needed it.
All right, so I will, incorporate these changes, and there'll be a new, summary that will be in next week's agenda packet along with the TNT information. Catching your cough. Thank you.
No, I can't get mine either.
Thank you for your time. I'd like to thank all the staff and Karen for helping put this together. So, cannot do it on my own.
Well, it's a huge document.
Right.
Maybe next year it's not as difficult. I don't know. It seems like you're moving a lot of items around, making them make sense. So it's different parts. So
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to make it, well, I'm not a CPA and I am a numbers person, but I want the budget so that I can understand it, which means the odds are good that the taxpayer will understand.
there's been some,
And staff.
the budgets in years past have been something. They maybe worked at the end, but then it was following along as hard to do. So.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the changes, and we don't have a finance director anymore, so, huge kudos to Michelle for
Yes.
Miracle worker.
doing all that. Amazing.
16 down 3 is,
Yes.
Anybody else have,
now we're the reporter. Should be.
anybody else have comments that were not on the agenda and need to be said?
I just have a question about when are we going to discuss the fire department coming here with their concern, because you guys need some more information about why that needs to be kept, in my opinion. I'm just one, but my opinion, why it needs to be kept in the personnel manual. So there's some information about it that you guys need to know. So I'm just trying to figure out how we relay that and why we think it's important to be in there and all that stuff. So how are we gonna do that?
Since that's a personnel matter, can that be in closed session or?
Well, it has to be.
I will,
Doesn't have to be, but
I will talk to the attorney. I don't think it, okay.
Yeah.
I would
hope
argue what I
so.
just said.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Let me talk to Damien and, we'll figure out a way to get it to fall under closed session. So,
Yeah, it has to be.
But you have to be able to talk about who you're talking about.
yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. And,
Okay.
in a perfect world, I think there could be some things that could happen that would make the dual department tolerable. But right now, no. So. But that will,
check
they
in.
talk, we'll
Yeah.
stop on that one.
Yep, sounds good.
Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Everybody's done.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? We're adjourned.